Tablets are probably one of the oldest form of written record that we have. They've been translated, and they tell exciting stories about how gods intermingled with human beings and actually had a hand in the creation.
The written accounts etched into stone suggest the Anunnaki were giant beings, standing 8 feet tall, who came to Earth in search of gold for their home planet.
1849, deep inside the ruined libraries of ancient Nineveh, workers digging through the broken palace of Ashurbanipal uncovered thousands of clay tablets buried beneath ash, brick, and desert dust. Most of them were cataloged as royal records. Some were hymns, some were trade lists, some were fragments of old myths copied from even older Sumerian sources. One damaged tablet, sealed inside a wooden crate and later transferred through a chain of museum archives, contained something that nobody knew how to explain. Described the moon not as a dead rock in the sky, not as a lamp of the gods, not as a symbol of night, as a vessel, a hollow place, a watched place where 6 things were sleeping beneath a white surface that ancient scribes called the cold skin of the sky stone. At first, translators assumed it was religious poetry, was the safe interpretation. Ancient people looked up at the moon, gave it divine meaning, and filled the darkness with stories. Explanation worked for decades, until a second fragment surfaced. Then a third, then an astronomical sequence appeared in the text that made no sense for a civilization without telescopes, satellites, lunar probes, or seismic instruments. Tablet did not describe worship, it described containment. Spoke of 6 hidden presences inside the moon, each tied to a cycle, a gate, a vibration, and a return. And near the broken lower edge of the tablet was a line that disturbed the few researchers who studied it closely. When the sleeping lights answer the earth again, the watchers will open what was sealed. It should not exist, made no sense. And the deeper researchers looked, the stranger it became. Because this was not mythology, this was not metaphor. This read like a technical warning preserved in clay. Before we go deeper, subscribe now if you want more forbidden history investigations like that, because the next tablet in this series may be even more disturbing. Modern history tells us the Sumerians were advanced for their time. The phrase sounds respectful, but it also builds a wall. Advanced for their time means they were clever but limited, brilliant but primitive, capable of writing but not capable of knowing too much. Sumerians created one of the earliest writing systems on Earth, built cities, temples, irrigation networks, legal codes, accounting systems, calendars, and astronomical records, tracked the movements of planets. They calculated cycles. They used sacred numbers in architecture and ritual, understood time as something that could be measured, repeated, predicted, and encoded. The official story still says there were limits. No telescopes, no satellites, no computers, no spacecraft. No way to know what was hidden beneath the surface of the moon. And yet the tablets say otherwise. Sumerian mind was not childish. It was organized, mathematical, cosmic, obsessed with order, did not separate heaven from government, astronomy from religion, or numbers from divine power. To them, the sky was not decoration. It was a system. Moon, called Nana or Sin in later Mesopotamian traditions, was not simply a glowing object. It was a regulator of time, fertility, tides, calendars, harvests, and kingship. The moon measured life itself. In this particular tablet, the moon was described with language that does not fit ordinary worship. Text speaks of inner chambers. It speaks of sealed singers beneath the dust. It speaks of 6 who do not walk upon earth, yet move earth from above. And it repeats one phrase again and again. They sleep until counted. That phrase became the key. So to ancient scribes, counting was not casual. Counting meant cycles, astronomy, timing, ritual activation, prediction. If something slept until counted, it was not dead. It was waiting for a number to complete. Forbidden artifact itself was not a complete tablet, broken into 3 main fragments, written in Akkadian cuneiform, but preserving older Sumerian terms, was reportedly catalogued among lunar hymns, which is why it remained ignored for so long. In the archive notes, it was treated as a poetic invocation to the moon god, a religious chant, a symbolic night prayer. Nothing dangerous, nothing revolutionary. But in 1911, a young Assyriologist named Dr. Elias Renwick began comparing several untranslated lunar fragments from Nineveh, Nippur, and Ur. Renwick was not trying to prove anything strange. He was studying repetition patterns in Mesopotamian temple language. He noticed that one set of phrases did not behave like poetry. The numbers repeated too cleanly. 6 inner names, 27 outer marks, 3 gates of silence, a cycle of 18 years, and a longer return measured by 6,480 nights. First, Renwick assumed the numbers were ritual. That was the safe interpretation. Then the coordinates began to match. The tablet appeared to divide the moon into regions, not with modern latitude and longitude, but with symbolic directional markers. The horn of rising, the scar of shadow, the white plain, the basin of echoes, and the hidden face. Hidden face. Thousands of years before humanity photographed the far side of the moon, an ancient tablet seemed to reference a side that does not show itself to Earth. Mainstream scholars dismissed it as an obvious poetic idea. Moon turns, it changes shape. Ancient people could imagine unseen regions. Problem is that the tablet did not merely say the moon had an unseen side. It said the unseen side contained the closed mouths of heaven, and beneath those mouths were 6 things. First was called the listener, was described as something that did not speak, but received every sound made between earth and sky. Modern language, some researchers compared it to an ancient idea of a receiver, a sensor, a cosmic ear. Second was the mirror, a mirror made of glass, but a thing that reflected the hidden fire of the world. It was said to awaken when Earth's inner flame became restless. Third was the seed. This one was the most disturbing. Text connects it to life, blood, and the shaping of bodies. It is not described as alive in the human sense, but as something that keeps the pattern of flesh. The fourth was the gatekeeper, guarded the passage between the dark undersky and the road of return. The fifth was the singer. Awakening was linked to vibration. Tablet says that when the singer stirs, mountains tremble and seas rise against their borders. The sixth was unnamed. Scribes called it only the one beneath the white silence. And every time this sixth presence appears in the text, the surrounding lines are damaged, erased, or intentionally scraped. Here's where it gets strange. The official explanation was mythology. 6 things were probably lunar spirits, temple guardians, or poetic forms of the moon god's power. Mythology does not usually contain structured orbital timing. Calling it coincidence only works until the same coincidence appears across multiple tablets. Dismissing it as primitive religion becomes harder when the numbers begin to resemble cycles that modern astronomy recognizes. 18-year pattern resembles the lunar nodal cycle, the period connected to the shifting points where the moon's orbit crosses the path of the sun. Ancient astronomers in Mesopotamia were known to track eclipses, but this tablet frames the cycle not as observation alone, but as activation. 18 years, one seal weakens. Every larger cycle, one presence answers. After a complete count, the tablet says, "The sleepers turn their faces toward Earth." That was not a comforting line. Dr. Renwick began comparing the ancient text with modern astronomical data. He expected symbolic mythology. He found instead was a mathematical structure hidden beneath religious language. His notes, published in a small academic circular in 1913, were criticized almost immediately. Senior scholars argued that he was imposing modern ideas onto ancient poetry. Said he was turning sacred symbolism into machinery. They said the tablet belonged in mythology, not astronomy. Renwick did not claim the Sumerians had spacecraft. He claimed something more careful and more unsettling. He argued that the tablet preserved an older technical tradition that later scribes no longer fully understood. In other words, the Sumerians may have copied something inherited, something already ancient to them. Within 2 years, Renwick's access to several tablet collections was restricted. His funding disappeared. His notes were dismissed, not disproven. The artifact was not destroyed, simply reclassified, boxed, and forgotten. And this is how uncomfortable discoveries disappear. They are not burned. They are not publicly defeated. They are labeled symbolic, placed in storage, and left for another generation to ignore. The numbers did not go away. Decades later, modern science began sending machines to the moon. Moon became stranger, not simpler. Apollo missions placed seismic instruments on the lunar surface. Scientists discovered that the moon rang after impacts, like Earth, differently. The vibrations lasted far longer than expected. Popular mystery writers later exaggerated this into the phrase, "the moon rang like a bell." But even stripped of exaggeration, the seismic behavior was unusual enough to make people ask deeper questions about the moon's interior. Tablet had called one inner presence the singer. It said the singer awakened through vibration, said the moon was not silent. Then came the far side. Modern spacecraft revealed that the far side of the moon is dramatically different from the near side. Thicker crust, fewer dark Maria, different terrain, a hidden face unlike the face humanity had watched for thousands of years. Tablet had spoken of the hidden face. Then scientists confirmed lunar mascons, mass concentrations beneath certain lunar basins that create gravitational anomalies, visible structures beneath the surface affecting orbiting spacecraft. Tablet had described weights under the white plains that pull the road of heaven. That line had once been translated as poetic language about divine authority. After lunar gravity mapping, it felt different. They had no telescopes, no satellites, no computers, seismic labs, no orbital probes. Yet, according to the interpretation, the tablet preserved details that sound disturbingly close to things we only confirmed thousands of years later. Does not prove the moon is artificial. It does not prove 6 beings are physically sleeping inside it. Does something almost more dangerous. It removes the comfort of easy dismissal. Because once one impossible detail lines up, the question changes. You stop asking, why did ancient people imagine this? And you begin asking, what were they remembering? The mystery becomes bigger when the pattern refuses to stay in Sumer. Egypt, the moon was tied to Thoth, measurement, writing, timekeeping, and hidden knowledge. Moon was not only light, it was calculation. Maya tradition, lunar cycles were bound to prophecy, blood, fertility, and the timing of cosmic events. Calendars treated the sky like a machine of repeating doors. Dogon oral traditions, the sky was described through layered knowledge that later researchers controversially connected to astronomical details. Whether interpreted as contact, coincidence, or cultural transmission, the pattern remains. Ancient people preserved sky knowledge in forms that looked like myth until modern science changed the context. In Hopi sky stories, watchers, cycles, previous worlds, and warnings of purification appear again and again. Different cultures, different languages, different continents, but the same structure returns. The sky is not empty. Gods came from above. Human history moves in cycles. Warnings were preserved after catastrophe. Something connected to the moon measures the timing of return. Mainstream history has no clean answer for why these patterns echo so widely. Safe explanation is that humans everywhere looked up, feared the dark, and invented similar stories. May explain some of it, but it does not explain the numbers. It does not explain the repeated cycle language. It does not explain why so many ancient systems treat the moon not simply as a symbol, but as a regulator, a gate, a clock, and a witness. Sumerian tablets' darkest implication is not that 6 monsters live inside the moon. That is too simple. Darker implication is that the moon may have been understood as part of an ancient control system, place of observation, a vault, a timer, a machine of return. 6 things inside it may not be creatures in the way humans understand creatures. They may be functions, presences, instruments, biological archives, energy systems, sleeping intelligences, or symbolic names for technologies later priests translated into divine language. The listener receives. Mirror reflects, the seed preserves, the gatekeeper separates, the singer vibrates, the unnamed 6 waits beneath silence. If the interpretation is correct, then the tablet was not trying to entertain anyone. It was trying to warn a future generation that the moon was not passive. It was watching, it was counting. At the end of the count, something would awaken. This is where the story becomes difficult to dismiss emotionally, even if the mind resists it. Because if ancient people were wrong, then we are only looking at beautiful mythology. If they were right about the stars, what else were they right about? The text was not mythology, then what exactly were they trying to preserve? This was a warning. Who was it meant for? And if the cycle is real, are we already inside it? Tablet says, the awakening does not begin with fire in the sky. It begins with disturbance on earth. The seas become restless. The ground speaks in hidden places. The minds of humans turn upward again. Old symbols return. Forgotten knowledge is uncovered. And the moon becomes brighter in the dreams of kings and common people alike. Line sounds mystical until you realize how often civilizations describe the end of an age as a time when buried things return, return, as if the future is not ahead of us, but behind us, waiting to be remembered. Why would institutions avoid this subject? Not because every strange interpretation is true. Not because every forbidden history theory deserves belief. Because some questions are too dangerous for professional comfort. Academia is built on evidence, but it is also built on reputation. A scholar can study ancient lunar worship safely. A scholar can write about symbolism safely. A scholar can describe mythological imagination safely. The moment someone suggests that an ancient tablet may preserve technical knowledge from a lost source, the room changes. Funding becomes difficult. Peer review becomes hostile. Museums become cautious. The artifact is not denied. It's contextualized. The translation is not erased. It is softened. The mystery is not destroyed. It is renamed. Symbolic, ritual, mythopoetic, uncertain, too controversial. This is how uncomfortable discoveries disappear. The easiest way to erase a discovery is not to destroy it. It is to make serious people afraid to discuss it. Maybe that is why the moon tablet remained quiet for so long. Not because it had no meaning, because its meaning was too large. Because if ancient scribes preserved a real warning about the moon, then human history is not a straight line from primitive caves to modern cities. Broken memory, a record of contact, a warning left in clay, message copied by people who may not have fully understood what they were copying, but feared it enough to preserve it anyway. What does this mean for us? Maybe nothing. Maybe the moon is only a natural satellite. Ancient myths are only stories, and the six sleepers are only symbolic shadows cast by human imagination, is the comfortable answer. But comfort has never been the same as truth, because every night the moon still rises. The same white face, the same silent witness, same impossible object pulling oceans, measuring months, shaping rituals, and haunting the oldest stories on Earth. Thousands of years, humans looked up at it and felt watched. Maybe that was fear, maybe that was worship, maybe it was memory. Maybe the ancient world knew that the moon was not just above us. Maybe it was part of us. Block placed in the sky, a clock counting down, a vault holding something older than civilization. If the tablet is right, the six things inside the moon are not awakening because they choose to. They are awakening because the count is nearly complete. The listener hears Earth again. Mirror catches the hidden fire. The seed remembers the pattern of flesh. Gatekeeper turns toward the road of return. The singer begins to vibrate beneath the dust. The sixth, the one beneath the white silence, waits for the final seal to break. Maybe the real question is not whether the ancients believed gods lived in the sky. Maybe the real question is why so many of them warned us to keep watching it. Maybe the most terrifying possibility is not that something is coming from the moon. It is that something inside the moon has been waiting for us to become ready enough to notice. If this made you question what you were taught about human history, subscribe now, 'cause in the next video, we are going deeper into another ancient record, one that describes what happened before the sky beings left, why they promised to return, and why the final sign was said to appear not on Earth, but above it. Before you go, comment below. Is the moon tablet only mythology, a strange coincidence, or evidence of something older than human history? Because if the ancient records are right, then the story of humanity did not begin with us, and it may not end with us either.